All right, welcome back to the Stan Simpson Show. We're joined now by clinical psychologist Dr. Darlene Powell Garlington, who's been a regular. Now, you're here often now, right?
Nice to be here.
You're our clinical psychologist on call.
Well,
we have these
thank
issues
you.
here. So we're dealing with Miss Houston, the death and passing of that, and a very sad time for the entertainment world. But also, as more and more stories come out, you're hearing about Xanax, you're hearing about Valium, you're hearing about mixing alcohol. The final autopsy is not out yet, but clearly Xanax, Valium, and alcohol will be involved in this. The issue of self-medicating, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we have celebrities who deal with this. We have normal people. Self-medication and dealing with trauma, why does this happen so often? Why don't folks get other help outside of the obvious, the bottle or the pills?
It's important to recognize that substance abuse really is a disease, and it's a balance between having compassion for the person and also holding them accountable. They have to have some personal responsibility, and I'm not sure who was really holding Whitney accountable and what kind of treatment she was receiving or what kind of intervention. And when you combine a benzodiazepine with alcohol, it's a sedative. So I think she accidentally overdosed. I think she wanted to escape whatever kind of anxiety, depression, insecurity she was experiencing. So she took some pills, she probably had some alcohol, and she fell asleep. And that's what a sedative can do to you. So I don't think it was suicide. I think it was an accidental overdose.
And you mentioned the accountability factor. So many times you find that folks not only weren't their friends accountable or helped them be accountable, but they were enablers. You know, Michael Jackson having the doctor on call, the $100,000 a month, that the whole community became enablers because they wanted that paycheck. So whatever Michael wanted was fine, even though they knew that what he was doing was bad. He was the money train. He kept that going. I'm not saying this happened here with the Whitney, but so many times they enable the behavior because he's cutting the checks.
Sometimes it's money, but also it's power and control.
Okay.
She's a strong woman, so I think she alienated and ostracized people that probably tried to be firm with her. And she has the control to be able to say that, you know, leave me alone.
But the control came because she had the money.
Yeah, the control came because she had the money and the power.
Right.
And the power, yes.
Because there's no power and control without the money, right?
So yes, so you can kind of manipulate people and get them to either, as you said, you kind of collude with you and go along with you and enable you, or you can kind of remove yourself and distance yourself from them if they're too persistent with you. And, you know, nobody really knows what was going on, but clearly I think being under that kind of scrutiny all the time and people criticizing you, unless you have a strong ego and you can let some of that run off your back and say, what's really important to me is what the people that I love feel and think about me. And our society, it's kind of human nature. Sometimes we like to see a train wreck. We like to see other people's pain. And that really troubles me.
Why is that? I think you're right. Why is that?
I think our own insecurities. I think when we see somebody else hurting, then we can say, well, at least mine isn't that bad.
Right. And don't we get envious of stars, truth be told? They have the money, the perception of money, fame, all they want, and that to some degree we have delight in seeing them fall? Absolutely.
Sometimes, and we kind of perpetuate that in the way that we kind of gossip about them and look for them to have some kind of negativity in their lives so that we can see them as more human and more real, rather than recognizing that clearly they are. Just like we have pain, they have sorrow in their lives. It's inevitable. So it really is more about how they manage it and who they have around them that are true and genuine support systems and friends. And I know she had people like that, so I'm not judging anybody because there, but for the grace of God go I. I don't really know what happened and what people tried to do to support and help her, but clearly she wasn't receptive to it enough that she was able to get the help that she needed and to heal and recover. I think she wanted to, though, Stan. I think
everybody wants to, right? Deep down inside, right?
Yes, deep down inside.
Because she was 48 years old, right? Single mom. She had an 18-year-old daughter. Her career was, she's trying to get her career back on track, even though it was very clear she was never going to be the same Whitney again, but she was trying to discover the new her and be comfortable with that, and it was a work in progress, right? That's
a key, because sometimes people can't accept that.
Right.
They want so bad to go back to the past, and then they can't like live in the here and now and just appreciate what they have and the blessings that they have currently because they're trying to relive the past, or sometimes even thinking too far into the future rather than just enjoying what they have.
When you're an extraordinary talent like Whitney, and you had that great voice, and you lose that voice, isn't that tougher when you self-blame? I know you're big on, the forgiveness factor and looking within. When you look back at what she was with that terrific voice, and then realizing I cannot hit those notes again, and then maybe blaming herself for, basically we can say that the drugs and alcohol contributed to her voice being gone. And the tremendous guilt she must have felt saying, gee, I blew this great gift. That's got to be pretty devastating, too, when you can't get back to who you were.
You're right, and that does call for forgiving yourself. As much as we talk about forgiving other people, sometimes we have to forgive ourselves. And I'm sure that she had some remorse and some frustration and some anger at herself for destroying her voice to the extent that she did. But she was improving. She was doing better. And again, it was more about saying, this is who I am now. We all change, as you know. You know, we all change in all kind of ways. And we can't go back. We, you know, whether it's you gain weight or whether it's just the normal aging process, whether it's you were a terrific dancer, Michael Jordan was a phenomenal basketball player, we do change and we lose some of our talents and our abilities. So it's a matter of self-acceptance and, again, being able to look at yourself and say, this is who I am now. I still have gifts. I still have things to offer to people, and that's what I'm going to celebrate rather than trying to relive and celebrate something that I had in the past.
What advice would you give to her daughter, Bobby Christina? You're a clinical psychologist. This daughter, now 18 years old,
yes.
She loses her mom. We know she's seen the evolution of mom going through all that. We assume she was at the front row with all the drama with Bobby and the alcohol, and now she's, I won't say she's alone, but Bobby's doing his thing. She's there. What happens to this 18-year-old girl, and what advice would you give her if she came as a client to you?
She's going to go through the normal stages of grief and bereavement, and nobody can protect her from
blame,
that.
Will she have self?
She's going to have some blame. She's going to have some anger. She's going to have some denial. She's going to think and wish that her mother was still here, kind of wishful thinking. If I had done something differently, would I have been able to have kept her here? So she has to be surrounded by loving and caring people. And then she has to get into kind of a structure and a routine that's healthy and holistic, whether that's exercising, doing something constructive and positive, getting involved in a healthy activity. Of course, I think going back to her church and her spiritual life and faith.
You're big on that, having that spiritual connection?
Absolutely. That's what really keeps us grounded.
Is she more grounded to find herself dabbling in drugs and alcohol as well because Mom did it? Is that something that is a concern?
Well, there's sometimes a genetic predisposition. So if she has that, then it's more likely that it's going to be a disease for her that she's going to have to fight.
It seems to go two ways, not to cut you off. It seems to go where the offspring either follows suit or they swear off drugs and alcohol, they don't do anything at all.
Absolutely.
Or they end up doing the very same pattern.
Yeah, and she could do that, which would be great if she says that I see what happened to both of my parents and I know that I'm vulnerable to that. So because of that, I'm going to make a conscious decision that I'm not going to engage at all, and I'm not even going to drink socially. She can certainly do that. On the other hand, if she does need some support and some treatment, it's critical right now that she gets involved in some kind of program, and she probably has some support around those issues in those areas, but it's so critical that she stays consistent, because what happens is people will do it initially and they'll get the kind of support they need and they'll get comfortable and think that they don't need that anymore.
A good routine, a good surrounding cast is important.
Absolutely.
Now, this death came on the heels of Don Cornelius, the Soul Train legend, dying of suicide. Amy Winehouse really destroying her body. So at the end of the day, folks who should be accessing help like what you do as a psychologist, are they going for help, or are they resistant to help, or they're just not taking it? Why wouldn't they get the help they need from someone like yourself in 15 seconds?
What really pains me is sometimes it's the stigma that instead of seeing it as a sign of strength, they see it as a sign of weakness, when they should see that reaching out to somebody and saying, look, I need support, I need some guidance, I need some help now, shows self-love. That shows that you want to heal, you want to get better, you want to be able to thrive, not just survive, but thrive through a trauma. And people can do that.
All right, Dr. Darlene Powell Garlington. The book is Blooming Again. Give me the rest of it.
Weathering Personal Storms and Growing Family Resiliency.
All right. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks to all our guests, DJ Buck, Linda Reynolds, Eric Danton. Don't forget, folks, catch our show 24/7, ctnow.com. Friend us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for the good folks here at Fox, Connecticut. I'm Stan Simpson. Tim Lammers, and the Morning News is next.